Oh, hey there. Gonna make a video. I haven't made a video in a while. And making this video because I really like the huameng ys3m. It is a really good cube. I got it 2 days ago from a sample from OU, so really appreciate that. But yeah, I don't make a video about every cube, but decided to make one about this one because it's actually, I think it's like really exceptional. So to give you a rundown of what the product is like, there are 4 overall versions, but 3 of them are available now. There's the standard one, which is actually, I have it right here. It has nothing in it except magnets and adjustment. So functionally, it's similar to the RS3 Super or the ys3m 2020. This one's $14.99 and there's a maglev for $19.99. And then the ball core is $25.99. So just imagine the RS3 Super, but just add $5 and I guess $6 to the last one, but it's around like $5-6 markup. And I'm just gonna cut to the chase. I think you should get the ball core version. I think the other ones are, like, in my opinion, they're almost worthless. Like, I don't personally see a reason to get them, but the ball core one is so incredibly good that, yeah, like if you have any doubt and you want to try a new cube, just try it because it's really good. So let me go into why I like the ball core version. So I think number one is I get good times, and the times are noticeably better than average. And I think that's like the number one thing for a cuber is like the cube performs better than the expect, and it gives them better than average times. And I certainly got that even on the first day without breaking in the cube. I was popping off on stream. I got like a 6, like a really low 6. I got a bunch of 7s. I got a sub 10 average with accounting like 13 or something. It was crazy. Like, I was just like, it made me feel like I was a better cuber. And that feeling I haven't had in such a long time because I'm so used to being average, which kind of makes sense. I'm so used to being me, but it just made me feel like a better version of myself. For one, I think the specs are really good for me personally. You know, I have a very relaxed, slower turning style. My hands are kind of small. So when the cube is 55 millimeters at kind of a normalish weight with strongish magnets, it overall feels like a very safe cube, and especially like a safe competition cube where I can go and maybe if I'm shaky and nervous, like the cube will help me stabilize, and you know, it feels great. And every time I use it, I expect better things for myself, and most of the time I get those better things, so that's really cool. The 2 things I don't really like about the cube are I don't like the matte plastic. I will never like matte plastic, and there's nothing that will convince me that it's better for speed cubing, for me personally. And the other thing is I'm not really sure about the compression system because the cube I have now is set at literally 0 compression. So that means there's about like 8 or 9 more settings that are more compressed. But I feel like if I compressed it a little bit, the cube would be a little too slow for me. So I'm not really sure how that would work for me. I kind of wish that my preferred setting would be kind of in the middle so that I can go left and right to experiment. But right now I'm actually on compression 0. So there's really nothing I can do to adjust the cube beyond what it starts at. But you know, at the end of the day, I don't need to adjust my cube. It's good for me. I'm getting good times, and this is definitely main worthy. And I think I said in the cubicle review a 10 out of 10. I think this is a 10 out of 10. The shortcomings I see are not really specific to this cube. Maybe the compression system, but that's also specific to my personal preference. And I think the performance of the cube is so exceptional that I'm just not worried at all about giving it a 10 out of 10. I think this is better than a lot of the other recent cubes I've tried, especially at $25.99, right? So I don't also mind too much that the magnets are not adjustable because, like I said, I don't feel like I need to change anything about the cube. It's pretty good. So this naturally will kind of force us to compare it against existing MoU cubes. So I think the biggest comparison is the RS3 2020. People say, oh, this is like the same thing or it's a rehash. I don't think it is. I think it's a very lazy way to try to sound smarter. It's definitely going to have some similarities because the manufacturer is MoU and they're allowed to have stylistic similarities between their cubes. It would be kind of weird if they didn't, but the 2020, has a very different internal radius, and the stock of the corner is quite large compared to the ys3, which is extremely stubby, almost to the point where it doesn't exist. So I think that difference is pretty significant, and maybe someone with a background in cube design can tell you how significant it is. I personally think, given what I know, it's pretty significant. And there are only so many metrics you can change on the cube, right? Like, a texture is a texture, so if it has a dragon scale texture, so be it. It's definitely feel-wise and appearance-wise, it's closer to the RS3 2020. But I think that's where the comparison really ends. This cube is more tactile and I think is more polished. And it's honestly what I hoped the RS3 Super would be. But the RS3 Super is a different cube. It feels different. I think comparison-wise, all you're doing with the Super and the ys3 is comparing the economy versions on their price. I still think the standard Super is better than the ys3 Super, because to me, there's no reason to pay $5 for something that's almost exactly the same performance-wise. Like, I think both of them are capable of getting fairly good times, and it's not going to change very much, so I'd rather not spend the $5 extra. And I think this is categorically better than the Huameng WRM series. So there's that. Again, this is all my personal opinion. I know like other people have done extensive tests on this and gotten better times on the standard one, which is completely fine. Then maybe they should just use the standard one. But my personal preference, I actually couldn't stand the standard one. I was failing so hard. I was just like, I don't want a cube. But the Boncore one has got me like addicted to cubing, and that's pretty crazy. So now I want to talk about the strange release of this cube. So I don't know why companies do this. Maybe if you work at MoYu, you're watching this video, you can tell me. So there's 4 overall choices, right? There's standard maglev Boncore, and then there's this thing called magic clothes, which I believe is like a coating to make the cube appear different and feel different to the grip. 3 of them are immediately available. 2 of them are not appealing to me, and 1 of them is available and addresses my problems of having like matte plastic, right? So it's weird to me that they would announce 4 of them, have the best one not be available, and have you get confused over which one you should pick, out of the 3. And I hope that in the future, MoYu can just release the Flagship and be like, hey, here's the Flagship, go and buy the Flagship, and it's just a Boncore with magic clothes, or the Boncore matte, to have 2 different textures, just in case people like matte better, I think at $25.99, it's really not that bad of an idea. It's a little weird for the Tornado Pioneer for a $40 cube to say, okay, here it is, go buy it. But yeah, again, like GAN does that, right? If you want a GAN Flagship, you're gonna pay over $70 for it, and they don't care what you think. It's the confidence in the product that's saying, okay, we're just gonna make this thing, and if you like it, if you think you like it, and you want to try it, pay up. I think MoYu could have easily done this at $25.99. And the marketing angle would basically be to convince people who would otherwise get an economy cube to spend a little to upgrade to something truly really good. And maybe MoYu thought about that already, but I see a lot of companies do this with especially the 4 versions of the Tianma. I thought that was a disaster, honestly. Like, people didn't even know the differences between them, and it's really hard to understand them without like an infograph or something really detailed to explain it to them. And that amount of choice is exhausting. It makes people who don't know exactly how the cubes work really tired and eventually disinterested in making a choice, because they're not sure what to make, and sometimes they feel like if they're better off not making a choice than potentially wasting money on what they feel is the wrong choice. So hopefully in the future we can do that, because I really don't think there's any point to having a $15 cube that is equal to your $10 cube, which is also roughly equal to your $9 or $8 cube. Like, MoYu is already swimming in good economy puzzles. So I feel like they're creating more problems than they are solving with that. But that's my video on the Boncore ys3m, and I guess the ys3m in general. I love the ys3m. I think they did a great job, and if you're curious about it, get the Bone Core, because it's a totally different cube and it's super polished, and yeah, highly recommend. All right, peace.